was like one of those big like moments like, okay, this is it, you know, but I had to remind myself, like, if I really needed to, I could get myself back home, you know, like, and I could trust myself and I can trust the decisions that I would make. And it's okay to take it step by step. I don't have to know today, are we going to be married 2 years from now? You know, I don't have to know today, is this the partner I'm going to spend the rest of my life with? And while that's still what we both want, we still don't know what the future holds. You know, like, we will work our hardest, and I know we both feel that way, to make it so that we can grow and change and be together for the rest of our lives. But we also don't know, like, what the future holds. And I think that's part of being unconditional as a twin flame, is saying, like, I want the best for you regardless of everything. And let's do our best to make that happen together, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of being in any sort of a partnership, whether you are a twin flame, a soulmate, a fling, that unconditional kind of always needs to be there, because without that unconditional, there is no real room for any sort of growth at all, because everything has to be this conditional, that conditional, that condition. You're not allowing there to be any wiggle room for anything to be able to fit into there. It's a set block. There's no going outside the parameters. It's this or nothing, which limits you in a huge way. And I think as soon as you start limiting yourself and limiting your beliefs, that's generally when things start to fall apart a little bit more. And I think that's one area that I feel we both do quite well in, is that we, even though we're both very stuck in our own ways, we're still open to trying to see if there's a way that we can work things around. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, but that's part of being in a relationship, and that's part of working together and growing together, is figuring out where those lines are, where you're comfortable to move and where you're not comfortable to move. And sometimes the place where you're not comfortable to move might be the place you need to move the most in, but it doesn't make it any easier. But having someone who loves you unconditionally can be very beneficial to be able to help you move through certain things like that.
Yeah, and just somebody who's willing to, because I think sometimes we forget what unconditionality is, in a way, you know, and this can happen a lot. And what unconditionality is, when you're in a relationship like this and you've gone through a lot of different phases together. We're now parents, we've been married, we've built a house together, like, we've gone through a lot of different phases, right? And unconditionality, to me, is not like getting it perfect or right every single time. It's like, okay, I was really in my ego there, you know, or like just the willingness to admit that, or the willingness to try, you know, because after time, you guys, we also build walls back up between each other. We also struggle through the same lessons and the same programs again and again. This literally just happened to us last night, where
happened to us fucking 20 minutes ago.
I had an insane aha moment this week about our relationship and about the masculine paradigm and the feminine paradigm. And you know what James's response to me is he said, "Serena, you knew that at the beginning of our relationship." And I was like, I did know that. But over time, those programs come back into play, and we, you know, healing is not linear, it's a cycle, right? So then we come back to that lesson in a deeper and different way, in like time and time again, right? Until those lessons are like fully cemented. So yes, while I did have that aha moment in the very beginning of our relationship, I've had wounds and programming that have come back up over time that have clouded me from actually seeing you that way, and clouded me from experiencing life that way. And then to have that aha moment again is another remembering, you know, and that's really what life is. We're remembering who we really are after those things have been warped and clouded by, you know, fear and programs and things like that. And so going back to the unconditionality part of that, it's just about saying like, oh shit, I was in a program. And it's okay that I was in a program, because I love you anyways, even through your programs, right? Like, to me, that's unconditionality, is to say like, you were in a program, but I still love you, you know? And if you can say, okay, I'm in a program, let me just run through this program because let's do it another 100 times because we've already done it 100 times. Let's go through it again. And maybe this time it's going to stick. Like, that's loving somebody. And I'm not saying to tolerate toxic or abusive or manipulative behavior, because I'm not saying do that 100 times, but I'm saying it's okay to fall into your programs and try again to get out and try again to get out.
As long as you're aware that the programs are there, and sometimes our partners will remind us and they'll piss us off to the ends of the world and back, but just to be aware of that. And it doesn't mean that when your partner tells you, you have to, in that moment, right there and then be like, you know what, I agree with you, because sometimes you be like, hell no, that's not it, not there at all. 2 hours later, or sometimes 2 months later, like, shit, they were right.
They were right, yeah.
Like, damn it.
Sorry. So that does happen to you too.
Of course it happens to me. It happens to me all the time with so many things, whether it be with you, whether it be with work, whether it be with myself. It's something that happens regardless. I mean, yeah, it is. And that unconditional love, it really helps get through that. Because, I mean, we both know sometimes we annoy the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
And it gets to the point, it's like... But we know at the end of the day, the way that we feel about one another, that doesn't change. We don't allow any of that to make us different people towards one another or towards other people. We still try our best to stay true to ourselves. If we see our partner straying from their path, or we feel that they are, we'll bring it up to them without saying that you need to change us now, because for some people they can't just change things. I mean, we've spoken about this in videos before, like even the way that me and you deal with things. You like to sit down when something comes up and you'll work it out now, and you'll sit there and tell you at least have an understanding. You might not come to your conclusion, but you want to understand in the moment. Me, I'm not like that. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes people say something to me, I'll be like, I get you. Other times, like, nah, I don't get you, and then I need sometimes
Space.
a couple hours, sometimes a couple days. It could be even up to a month before I'm like, but as long as you're doing that work and aware of it and open to hearing things, you don't have to agree to it, but if you're open to hearing it, what that will do for you and for your relationship and for your partner's trust within you is something that you can't put any value on. And I think that's a very important part about unconditionally loving each other.
Yeah, I think that's really true. We were watching this show and it's called Outlast. So if you guys have watched it, put it in the comments. But anyways, so there was this part at the very end, you know, where this guy, he sees he's with this one team. There's 2 teams left. And so he sees this opportunity on this other team where the kids are younger and they're stronger. And he's thinking he's going to go jump ship, right? So he takes his boat and he goes over to the other team. And he asks them, you know, like, can I join your team? They turn him down. So then he has to go back to his own team. His own team knows that he was over there fraternizing with the other team. And you know what they do? They're super pissed off and they're super hurt and they're disappointed. But you know what they do at the end of the day is they welcome him back with open arms. And they say, look, you're part of our team. We can do it. We can make it. Like, they could have very easily voted him off.
Yeah.
And they didn't. And that's part of being unconditional, is saying, like, I see you in all your faults, you know, or I see you in all your weakness or your negativity. And, you know, I love you anyways. And they, like, raised him up in such a beautiful way, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think in that situation as well, just the way they went about it, because obviously they wanted to get him to, as they say in the show, flare out. But what they saw was his motives behind why he wanted to do it was that he could support his family. So he was trying to do the best that he could in order to make it so that he could win to help his family out. Where they saw that, said, look, we're not happy with the way you did it, and it would have been better if you came and said to us something, but we understand that your morals behind why you did it were still in the right alignment. So therefore, we're not going to tell you just to bugger off, stay with us, and let's see if we can still do this together. And having that mentality to be able to overlook these things and be able to see past them and actually see someone's real true worth and who that person is for themselves is huge. I mean, I had a friend who I met, a lot of people told me they're absolutely batshit crazy, and I was like, well, you know what, I like this person because when I first met them and they're doing their thing, and I said, why are you being fake? Just be yourself with me and cut the bullshit. And we became great friends afterwards because like, oh shit, this person can see me. that makes such a big difference to people in their lives, whether it be your partner, whether it be a family member or a friend. It really changes so much for someone in their life, and it can sometimes put them back onto the path that they actually want to be on.
Yeah, and I think that's a good reason as to why we should all continue doing the internal work. Because if you're doing the internal work on yourself and you're living in truest alignment and harmony with your inner self, then you are not going to have the filters and the program that obstruct you from truly seeing another person, you know? So like, you can only not see another person if you're not seeing yourself clearly. And so by you seeing yourself clearly, you were able to see this person clearly, and that allowed her to step into a more fuller version of herself that she probably wasn't able to be with a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know? And so that's kind of what a twin flame is, essentially, is like, it's the person that sees you more clearly than a lot of times you even see yourself. And that's very scary. And that's why during separation, a lot of people go into no contact. A lot of people have runner chaser scenarios. And it's because looking at yourself that clearly can be really scary, because you have to really confront a lot of things that you don't love about yourself. But when that person expresses that they love that about you, even when you don't love that about you, first you're like, well, what's wrong with you? And then second, you're like, okay,
so many things.
I guess if somebody else can love this about me, I can love it about myself, you know? I had a friend, actually, if you guys don't know, I have a mole on my chin here. And I used to get made fun of a lot as a kid. And it was a really like insecure thing for me. And then I had a friend who was like, I love your mole. And she said this after like, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years of us being friends. We were friends for a very long time. She said this after 5 or 6 years of us being friends, and it came up in such like a passing comment, but she was like, I love your mole. And she said it in front of a few other people, and it literally changed my life forever. I like that day forward, I wasn't insecure about my mole anymore. And it took just one other person recognizing something in me that they thought was beautiful, or that they even just thought was baseline acceptable, you know, like, and that changed my entire life. And like from that point on, all it took was this simplest moment for me to accept that about myself. And it was like, I was in high school at the time, and that's, you know, a very middle school, high school is like a very insecure time in your lives a lot of times. And it literally changed like how I felt about myself, and how like I felt like beautiful, and I felt like, oh, like this is an acceptable part of me, like I can, somebody else does, so I can too. And this is what I think a lot of times a twin flame does for us in a healing way, is we can bring things to each other and then be like, sometimes I think we're like surprised by each other's responses, both ways, both directions, sometimes bad and sometimes good.
Both of which are actually good.
Yes, but on the good front, when I come to you with something and I'm like so hesitant to tell you, or I'm so scared, and then your response is so positive and uplifting, and I'm like, oh wow, okay, I can really love that about myself, or like, this isn't actually a problem, because he doesn't see it as a problem, so it's all good, you know?
Yeah, and even if I do see it as a problem, it's still part of you, and I wouldn't change it.
Right. So it's non-void anyways. Anything else to add on this topic?
Separation is never easy, but at the end of the day, if it's meant to be with the right person, it's worth it.
That's a good point. Yeah. I'd say the same. And I would say also, if you're in separation, don't be scared to ask for what you need. You know, in a way, like, I think a lot of times in separation, we're already afraid because we're in separation, and then we're afraid we're going to push that person away even more. But I'm going to say the opposite psychology is true, where you're already in separation. You're already not together. How much more not together could you get? You know what I mean?
And if you really truly meant to be that person,
they'll accept that.
They will accept it. Whether they accept your request or not,
right,
they will accept you for being the way you are. And that is an important thing to remember, is you can ask for something. That person can reject it, but it doesn't mean they're rejecting you. Yeah. They're rejecting the one thing that you're asking for just because it doesn't suit them in that moment. It might suit them later. It might never suit them.
Yeah.
Very important to remember.
That is very important to remember. Yeah, good point.
Thank you.
Alright guys, thank you so much for watching today. If you have any comments, questions, put them down below, and we will see you in the next video. Oh, and if you'd like to join our one-on-one group coaching container, this is what we're actually working on after this today. Super exciting. Is we are planning our lessons and our content for our group coaching container. So you guys, this is very important because up until the end of October, we are still accepting applications. We are beginning our group coaching container on the week of 11/11. How twin flamey is that?
And on our daughter's birthday.
And our daughter's birthday. It's a big day, big week. So yes, get your applications in if you want to do the awakening work with other twin flames aligned on the same path as you, and you want a beta test for us, which means you're going to be giving us critiques on the course and testimonials in exchange for 50% off what we will be pricing this course as in future iterations. So that is a big discount. It's the first and the last time we're ever doing this. We've had so many wonderful applications already, so we're only looking for probably up to about 10 people unless something drastically changes. So get your application in if you want to work with us. We're super, super excited. I can feel the power of this course, and I'm really excited to work on it and to start it and all that good stuff. So yeah, get that in and we will review your application. You can look to hear from us. Be sure to check your spam folder because some of them I think have been landing in spam. So yeah, check it out and we'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.